Hi, Revere, and welcome to our show, the Revere Veterans and Community. Today I have a double special guest because she's also a veteran and she's a community veteran. Her name is Mary Marino. Mary, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Morris.
First of all, let me thank you for your service.
Okay.
World War II veteran, veteran of the service of 1982 to 1989.
United States
It's
Navy.
Navy. Right, so thank you for coming. And then for the people out there who don't know, Ms. Marino is a hearing instrumental specialist. So start us off with exactly what that is.
Okay, hearing instrument specialists test people for their hearing to see if they need hearing aids and see if hearing aids will help them. I brought in a picture of the anatomy of the ear. Just to explain it simply, the way that the hearing does work, these are your ears right here. Sound travels through the outer ear, then goes through the middle ear right here. The bones vibrate. And then this is your inner ear. This is where the nerves are. You start out with 30 to 35,000 nerves. That's what clarifies the sound and sends it off to the brain. Same thing on both sides. So you actually hear with the brain, and you get your balanced hearing from both of your ears. Now what happens when people start to have hearing loss? The nerves get damaged. And some of the nerves are damaged and they die, creating hearing loss. And that's when people start to say, what, excuse me, and all that, and turning up the television.
Right. I have to ask you, I myself sometimes will use Q-tips to clean my ears. And show me what they would be going down into and if they could do damage.
Okay.
Put them on.
You have to be very careful with Q-tips. Okay, the side's the same thing, because a Q-tip, you can go down and poke your eardrum out. Okay, if you have, your eardrum is right here.
Oh, okay.
If you have a lot of wax buildup, which is one of the reasons why people do put Q-tips in to clean their ears, you can push that wax down here and you can damage the eardrum, which will cause permanent damage. Okay?
Yep, that's good. Now I have to ask you, people of different ages, or they can be the same age, different people, and they have different types of hearing.
Right.
How do you test them to see if they need a hearing aid to begin with?
Okay, a hearing test, you do it with the tones. You test them with all different tones in their ears. If their hearing drops in decibels, okay, we talked about the decibels, if it's below, say about 40%, you have to get, that's where you need to be tested to see if hearing aids will actually help you. Now, it's not a guarantee just because you have hearing loss that hearing aids will help you. You have to do what's called a word recognition test. Check to see if you can still understand words. People that wait too long, their brain can actually forget what sounds sound like. Okay, so that's where their word recognition, your word recognition may be 100%. The person with the same type of hearing loss could be 80, could be 60. And
Right.
some people it's even less.
You talked about people having to wait waiting 7 to 10 years before they realize they...
Absolutely. People make up excuses like people speak too soft. Well, if they would just face me, then I would hear better. People get used to the hearing loss that they have. Okay, so that's why they kind of put it off. It takes years for the hearing to get like that. If somebody would just show them this is the way you should hear, then they realize how much hearing loss that they actually have.
So once the hearing goes bad, there's no reversible for it to improve it back to the way it was without the hearing aid?
Not unless it's a medical issue.
Oh.
And we do a test for that too. We do a bone conduction. If it is something medical, that's when I would refer them to a doctor.
Okie dokie. That's good to know. Now, before we continue, tell us how you first got started with this. How you first got into this. You have your own business, I believe?
I do have my own business, and what my business is I go out and I just do house calls. The reason that I started this is because I want to make hearing aids more affordable for people. One of the biggest complaints when I was in a bigger office, bigger company was, why are hearing aids so expensive? There is a reason for why hearing aids are so expensive, because there is a lot put into them. However, by keeping my overhead down and going into people's homes and doing a hearing test, I'm able to offer better prices for hearing aids.
Right. I would like to ask you two questions, if I may. Number one is, I see on TV, and
Right.
I don't know how to put it, but I mean, Like there's a show, a man watching the birds and he can't hear,
Right.
and they give him a set of, I guess, amplifiers, and for
Right.
$19.99 or
Right.
whatever you want to call it. Is there a difference between amplifiers and hearing aids, if I may ask you?
Yes, there is. An amplifier amplifies everything like this, okay? Makes everything louder, like what you do with a television. You turn it louder. For some people, when they have hearing loss and their hearing loss is not a flat loss, meaning the decibels and the hertz, the way that they hear the different sounds, is flat, then turning it up straight like that is fine. But what an amplifier does is it will make loud sounds almost where they might even hurt the ear, causing more damage. A hearing aid has ways of amplifying the tones that you need at the different levels that you need. So in other words, I hear this all the time. It's not that I can't hear, I don't hear clearly. Okay, a hearing aid can clear those things up.
Oh, I see.
Won't make it perfect, like when somebody heard when their hearing was perfect, but it can clear things up and make things more audible for them.
So in other words, if I hear sounds that are distorted, the hearing aid can like clarify it for me?
Well, distortion, I would have to clarify what the actual distortion
Oh, I
was, but it will make things, if somebody hears things muffled or it's low, it will clear things up for them.
Right. Now, a lot of people, including myself, if I needed a hearing aid, I would have a hard time getting one because to some people it's not affordable, and you
Right.
help them with that. Could you explain that
I
to us?
am. I came across somebody recently that his hearing loss was a type that if I was sitting here talking to you, it would just look like my mouth was moving. Okay, that's how severe his hearing loss was. I believe he hasn't done anything because he didn't realize there's other sources out there to get him help. There's a lot of different senior centers. There's a lot of different agencies that will actually help people. So I would get them an application to try and get them help so that they can get the help that they need.
And how would they contact you if they needed the help?
My information is, should I?
Sure.
Okay. It's my phone number is 781-249-5330, and I also have an email address, which is mlmarino781@gmail.com. And I can be reached either on either one of those, and I can get right back to you on how we can get you help.
The reason I have you up here is because I first met you at the RVC Senior Center, which you did a beautiful job, by the way. And I got to tell the people out there, if you've never been to some of their senior centers or some of their nursing homes, it would be a pleasure for them to have you, first of all, to begin with, Mary, because you do a beautiful job.
Thank you.
You explained everything so perfectly to me about hearing.
Thank you, Morris.
Right. But there's also age limits. Now, usually, little children, do they sometimes get deaf? I mean, are they born deaf?
Children generally, if, and then again, they would see a doctor for something like
Right.
that, not myself, but generally, if it's a child, they could be born that way. However, it could be something if a doctor is seen soon enough, then maybe they can be helped sooner and get their hearing back. Something with hearing, if you feel like you have trouble, if it's something that happens quickly and not gradually, then go see your doctor.
Right. Because I know if your hearing goes bad, and especially if you're driving or if you're crossing the street, I mean, if somebody honks the horn and you don't hear them, I mean, the chances of it getting hurt are pretty good.
Right. Safety is a real issue. One of the reasons that people shouldn't put off getting help is it could cause an accident. It's social, it's medical, and it is safety. Okay.
So, right. That's about the hearing. So, Mary, is there any new, first of all, is there a variation between prices on hearing aids without mentioning prices?
Absolutely. There is a difference between, say, a low-cost hearing aid and top of the line. There's hearing aids now that work with phones. You can actually do adjustments right on your phones, on the smartphones now. That's where the technology has gone. Okay, that of course would be your high-end type hearing aid. There's ones that deal better with noise. There are some that are not programmable. Most of them are programmable now. good thing about that is as your hearing changes, we put it back in the computer and we adjust it to your hearing loss again.
Right, and you also clean hearing aids,
I do. I clean them, check them. I'll check your ears, do hearing screenings if people want to know where they're at. And I do it right here in Revere, the senior center.
Do you go to most of our seniors? Well, we only have one senior
I do
center.
the senior center. I go there once a month, and there's some in the area that I also go to.
Right, there's around the local, like Saugus, Chelsea,
I
Everett.
go to Lynn, I go to Revere, I go to Everett, and I go to the Jack Satter House.
Right, because when we had that open house for a lot of people up on the second floor, that's where I first met you.
Right.
That was pretty good.
I've seen you several times there in the past because I've been going there for over 10 years.
Right, I played the music. And
Right, absolutely.
And I got to tell you, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm
Okay.
glad you brought that up because a lot of people come over to me and they say the music is too loud. Now, at the same place where these people say the music is too loud, other people sit there and they say, I can't hear it, Morris, turn it up. So what makes people say it's too loud? I mean, is it that their hearing is that good or they have a trouble with something and it amplifies the sound?
Well, people that do have hearing loss, sometimes loud things do bother them too. I would have to know more information as far as to answer that question.
Right. Now, when I went to the VA many years ago, the doctor would check my hearing and he would have like a little thing, a machine up there. He turned the volume on. Let me know when you hear it.
Okay.
Or let me know when you hear it. Or sometimes he would sit like we're talking and he would go, do you hear me? Like a whispering sound.
Right.
And I would tell him, yes, I heard you, I heard you.
Okay.
And he says, that
Right.
would be pretty good. What are some of the ways you check the hearing, by the way, if I may ask?
As far as myself or somebody before they would know to go and get checked?
Both.
Okay. Some of the things that people want to be aware of is if they are asking people to repeat more often, and sometimes the family members are going to notice first because the individual, it's easy to say what. Okay, the other thing is if you notice you're starting to turn up the television. In noise, okay, noise is generally the most difficult. If you notice in noise, it's impossible to hear or everybody else at the table is understanding the conversation and you're not included, then that's a sign too.
Right.
Okay, but listen to the people around you, I would say. Generally, they notice first.
Like I usually, I turn up the TV myself sometimes. When I hear the traffic of Suffolk Downs with the horn, the honking, the things that I'm listening to, sports, and I want to hear it. But once that noise subsides over there, I lower it down in there.
Yeah.
So that's...
If there's outside noise, it's definitely a little bit more difficult. But even as your hearing does go down, I have a little bit of hearing loss in one ear, and it's not enough where I need a hearing aid yet. However, I noticed I was turning up the television. I actually thought there was something wrong with the cable if I had changed something because I was turning up the TV about 5 or 6 notches from, say, 18 to 24. So it's
Like
little things like that you should notice.
The way you and I are talking right here, would that be a normal conversation for 2 people without an hearing aid? I mean, I hear you very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You-
Well, one-on-one, okay, that's a good question because one-on-one, a lot of people sitting in front of me might say, but I hear you fine. I'm also a hearing instrument specialist. I talk to people that are hard of hearing all day long. So I'm not a good gauge on whether a person has difficulty.
Oh, I see.
But what I might do is I might put something in front of my face and say a word and say repeat. And then all of a sudden
Could you give us an example of that?
Sure.
Just for the people out there.
With you right now?
Sure, why
Okay.
not?
All right, I'll go teeth.
Teeth.
Fast.
Fast.
Sap.
South.
Sap.
I didn't hear that last one.
Sap.
Oh, snap.
Sap. S-A-P. Like the
Oh,
sap
sap.
coming from a tree. So I will do
Oh,
something
I thought you
like
were calling
that.
me a south.
No, I wouldn't do that.
But some people do.
But that would be a good way where it's like, okay, I missed all of them. Or
Did I get any of them right?
you got the first 2 right. The last one was the only one you didn't get right. Okay, so.
So 66%.
Someday I'll test you. Maybe I'll see you at the Revere Senior Center.
Sure, why not?
But that would be when somebody does say that, when I get to the word recognition where I test them without, say I've done a hearing test and they definitely are in need of some help. Then I go on to see, can we help them? First, I do a word recognition test like that with them without any help. Then I show them how they would hear with hearing aids in their ears. I put amplification in their ears.
I have to tell you, there are a lot of jobs out there that people work on, and I don't think they realize that. I'm going to use construction as one of them. For example, what they have these, you know, outriggers, or they have dynamite blowing up things. That would help a lot of, I mean, that would cause a lot of people to go deaf as well.
Absolutely. People that work in a noisy environment, or the police officers that are doing one of the side, when they do the construction, when they're not wearing the hearing protection, they're definitely damaging their hearing.
Or when they go to the range to do target practice or shooting the rifle, even then.
Most of the time, I think they wear the, that they required.
Right.
I would hope that they would. But yes, absolutely. Noise is the biggest factor. Age is another. Hereditary.
I was going to ask you about it. So deafness is part of a hereditary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it could, the other things could be, say, a medical type issue.
Right, but when people get old, they automatically lose their, I don't say lose their hearing completely, but their hearing subsides. That never goes up.
No, it won't go up. It won't get better. Everybody gradually changes at different levels. I've tested people over at the senior center in their 80s, and they didn't need help.
We have
their hearing was good.
Mary, we have a gentleman who's 100 years old, God bless him. Sal Santoro, if you're listening out there, I'm talking about you. 100 years plus 5 months. Wait, February, March, April, May, June. He'll be 5 months in July. 100 years plus 5 months. He is just as you as I sitting here talking.
That's great.
So is that unusual, or that's the norm?
I would say that's unusual. That's unusual. But like I said, I have tested some people, and this is 20 years younger than that, but I would expect to have some sort of hearing loss for these people. And the hearing loss, they have some hearing loss, but it's mild. It's not where they need hearing aids.
Here's a good question for you. Revere, we have the MBTA.
Okay.
We have Logan Airport. There's houses around there. So the people that would live far away, for example, from those areas, would have a less chance of losing their hearing than the people that live close to those areas, or it doesn't make any difference, Mary?
It depends how loud. And I know if the plane goes over their house, it's loud. I would say over the years, yes, it's going to cause some damage.
So there would be a difference between someone living, let's say, out in the woods and someone living near the airport.
Absolutely.
So don't sell your house right away. I mean, we're just talking about that. On there. By the way, what are the future things that the hearing that you expect from hearing to come on to?
Well, like I said, the phones are now compatible. The hearing aids are compatible with phones now.
What about the email? People that use the texting, for example, where you don't even need hearing. All you got to do is know how to read.
Oh, yeah.
So that works pretty good,
well,
too.
Hopefully people will still talk to each other.
Oh, I hope so, too. But I mean, the way the technology is today.
I would say I foresee in the future that, say, somebody that wears hearing aids, because of the compatibility with the phones and the wireless, that somebody could call me up and say, I'm having a problem in this situation. We'll be able to program it right from
where you are?
Far away, yeah.
Yep. Another question I would like to ask you, I see people do this at the senior center when I'm playing the music. And I'm talking about that table where you have some too loud, some too low.
Right, right.
I see people like turning something in there. What are they really doing when they...
They're adjusting their hearing aid. They're turning it. If they're going like this, they're turning it up. Some have a button. They can go like this. The phone type ones, they might be moving something around on their phone.
And if you wear your hearing aid all the time, and they have the little, what are the little cell batteries they have in there?
They do have batteries in them.
How long do they usually last?
It's different. The smaller ones last less time, say 5 or 6 days, some a week, some 2 weeks.
So you should check.
Absolutely. That's a good point as far as if people are wearing their hearing aids all day long. If you have hearing aids, you should wear them all day long because it retrains your brain. When somebody starts wearing hearing aids for the first time, you are training your brain to hear again.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. This is just coming out of blue, clear blue. When people are blind, they have a seeing eye dog. if people are deaf and they cannot afford a hearing aid, do they have dogs that they use themselves with the dogs here, or that doesn't
No.
work that way? It just,
That they don't have a dog or anything. Let me get rid of this.
I think someone's calling you
I
about
know.
the hearing.
Right, exactly. Somebody once. I forgot to silence that.
See, our hearing is good. We
As
both heard it.
far as with hearing, I mean, there isn't obviously a dog for that as far as I know. You know, the one thing about hearing which is troublesome is you know when somebody's blind, okay?
Definitely.
When somebody is deaf, people feel excluded, they can get depressed, because it's almost like being inside a box.
Right, you're left out of everything.
And a lot of times people have said, I feel like people are talking about me, there's paranoia, and that's sad. And that's why it's so important if people need help. And a lot of times people have friends, maybe the person that can't hear, obviously it's hard for them even to get on the phone to make a phone call because they can't hear. Friends of theirs should maybe help out and give me a call and try and get the person some help. It's just so important.
I saw on TV where they advertised phones strictly for seniors and computers strictly for seniors who are bad in hearing.
Okay.
And the volume is pretty loud on there, so they may be loud to you, but they may be, I mean, good for you,
Right.
but they may be a little awful noisy to me, so that works out.
Right, right.
And let me, now people, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
If you know, this is something I'm glad you brought up, because they have canes that where people walk around. Let's say they're blind. The cane gives them a signal if they're going too close to something like they have on the new cars.
Right.
But if a person is deaf, he wouldn't hear that. He could be falling into a hole when he's walking if they're blind in there.
Right.
So they have something for them too?
Not really, not that I know of. That, and again, that's why it's such an issue, safety-wise, that people that can't hear
Or
need
can't
to
see
get
too
help.
good either.
Or can't see, right, yeah.
Yeah, that could be a main issue
Right,
on there.
right.
Right.
But
And there's no way they could operate on a person's, like, I'm not familiar with it. Can I look at this for a minute?
Absolutely.
Like, let's say, like over here, like, where would be the part that would make you go deaf?
all
Let's
right,
say.
right here, okay, this is where the nerves are,
Right.
okay? When the nerves are completely gone, a hearing aid's not going to help. That's where, if a person's still in good health, that's where you could see a doctor to see if possibly a cochlear implant is a possibility.
Now, Mary, can I
ahead.
ask a hypothetical question?
Yeah.
They have nerves, like, for example, on a body, they could take a nerve out of your leg, put it up here to help you. They couldn't do that with the ear themselves?
I don't know if there's research. That's more of a medical question, but that could be something that could be discussed with the doctor.
Do they do a lot of research on this too?
Oh, absolutely. With everything, with the hearing aids, there's lots of research that goes on because they do get better and better. So I'm sure in the medical field as far as something like this, but if a person can be a candidate for a hearing aid, generally it's not an option as far as something like a cochlear implant.
What would be a good idea? I don't know if they have it, but this is far-fetched. You know, they have tablets now, which I saw, and if you can't type, for example, let's say you're handicapped, you could talk, the tablet prints out what you say.
Okay.
Is there a chance, like, let's say I can't hear, but I have a tablet, and you want to get to me, that you can talk and it will print out your voice from that end to
They
this end?
do have phones that do that.
That talk?
That they don't, well, talking with the hearing, they'd have to see the words.
Right.
So
They do have phones like that?
have some phones that do that
So
for the hearing impaired. They have
So-
better phones for hearing impaired.
So if people are really deaf, they can get a phone like that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
There
if
are
they-
phones available. I'm not sure where, I would have to look into
Right,
that,
but
there are phones that do that.
See, I never knew that.
Yeah, there is,
And a lot of the people out there probably didn't know
Right.
that either.
Same thing like for the blind, they have something that, it's something that I think they feel the phone, like the numbers are bigger so that they can
Right.
they can type in the
They do,
numbers
yeah,
and everything.
they do have phones
Right,
with large
right,
numbers on there.
absolutely, right.
Right. And
There's not as many things for the hearing impaired, but there are some like that.
Right. And you know, a lot of the veterans come back from the wars, and they've been out there, like, for example, with the shells, with the
Right.
firing,
Right.
and a lot of them come back deaf. And do they get any special treatment more than...
Absolutely. If they've been tested before they get out, okay, they go to the VA and they are eligible for hearing aids. They have to make sure that it's documented
At
before
no
they
cost
get out.
to them?
As far as I know, it's no cost to them. They have to go to the veterans, and they will be fitted with hearing aids, and more are at obviously younger age.
Right. And some of the seniors, too, if they can't afford it, there's help for them, too, to get a hearing aid?
Absolutely, absolutely. If they cannot afford it, they do have to meet certain requirements, but there are agencies out there that will help them.
Do you have any idea what these requirements are, in case some of them are listening? Approximately.
I do have, it's a salary. I think it might be that you have to fill out as far as Social Security, it might be $12,000 a year, less than $12,000 a year.
Less than 12,000.
You have to fill out as far as if you own a home or a car or those type of things, right?
And it has to be 12,000 unless...
I believe so. I
approximately.
believe so.
Approximately,
Right. I believe so.
Plus or minus,
Right,
okay.
right.
So there is help for people.
There
so
is
no,
definitely
So
help.
actually no senior, or no person should really be deaf. I
Right,
mean,
right.
unless it's...
If you want help, there's help out there. Absolutely.
Right. Now, is there certain people...
There's also foundations, too. There's different foundations.
Oh,
So
that
if
would help.
anybody wanted to contact me, I could give them the information.
Okay, is there certain things on the ears, well, regardless, a hearing aid would not help or anything, that they are completely, literally deaf and nothing would help them?
Right. If they're completely deaf, then nothing is going to help them as far as hearing aids. That's where see the doctor. And that's another reason why people don't want to wait and keep putting it off, because sometimes people wait too long, and as a result, they're...
So there's no reversing on it.
Right, absolutely. So it's the sooner the better, rather than I can still hear. Don't wait until you can't hear anymore.
Right, Mary. We've got about 3 minutes, and I would...
Okay.
We have about 3 minutes left. Actually, we have a minute and 13
Okay.
seconds.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to take 30 seconds. If
Okay.
people want to contact you
If
real quick.
People want to contact me, my number is 781-249-5330. I'm just doing house calls, so it's a nice service. If you can't get out, or if you know somebody that can't get out, I will come to them.
Right, Mary, and I want to thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on the show.
All
Thank
right.
you for the
Thank
help.
you,
Hope
Morris.
to see you at the Senior Center. And may God bless you and take care of you, because you do a nice job.
Thank you.
To the people of Revere, God bless you, our troops and our great country of the United States. And Mary, thank you again for your service in the Navy.
Thank
you.
All right.